Hey everyone. Glad to be here. Thanks for joining me on the stage. I think we announced Zircuit a year ago at an Epic Web3 event. So happy to be here. Happy that we're still trying to secure the ecosystem and we're still doing some cool stuff. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what that is right now. So I'm going to tell you about how we can use AI to try to actually secure your dApps and users on an L2 network, namely Zircuit. This is kind of on point for the rest of the talk or the rest of the day. We've already seen some topics on AI and we've definitely seen some stuff on rollups. And we're going to combine that a little bit here if the clicker just works. There it is. Okay. Okay. So the first thing I want to say is why do I care about this? Why are we using AIs to protect users, and why do they need protection at all? Like, this is a decentralized world. Everyone should be doing things safe and be honest and nice, right? That would be nice. That would be very, very nice. It's not the case. The reality is on-chain hacks and exploits are not a thing of the past. So crypto has been around now for a couple of years, probably close to 7 or 8, maybe 10, I don't know. And smart contracts and their exploitation have also been around for almost as long. And they haven't really gone away. In fact, they've kind of gone worse. Wait, where is it? There it is. Okay. So, early days, there was nothing to hack, so none of them happened. No one lost any funds. So that's all good. And then there were a couple big incidents and things like this. But in the recent years, as we've seen greater adoption, which is a good, great thing, we've had this additional problem that we've also seen greater attraction from malicious actors and people coming to try to rip people off or exploit smart contracts or steal funds. And that's not great. On the one hand, it's kind of a good problem to have because it shows ecosystem growth. On the other hand, it's a really bad problem because it's a problem and people are losing funds. Ultimately, this ecosystem won't grow or it won't grow as fast as we want it to or would like it to if we always have these setbacks and major hacks, right? Every week, every month, I don't know what the cadence is. We see big issues come up on Twitter. Oh, Protocol X was hacked, or so many millions lost in some smart contract exploit. And this is not good, right? I'm tired of having conversations with friends outside of crypto or elsewhere, and they say, "Why are you working in this space? People are losing money all the time." I'm gonna switch my mic, I guess. Okay, is this better? I guess that's better. Okay. So hacks are still happening. Hacks are in fact getting worse because we're getting more and more ecosystem space into it. And while people are working around the clock to make this ecosystem more secure for specific smart contract implementations or protocol designs, it's also the case that the malicious actors are getting way more, clever and becoming very more interested in exploiting these systems. In short, the smart contract exploits and on-chain exploits in general are not a thing of the past, and they have real-world impact. People lose funds, right? People get really upset when they lose funds. Of course, they lose money. If they have their life savings in it, it can be really, really depressing or sad, and all sorts of bad things. People don't want to lose money, not because someone stole it. And I think just waving your hand and saying it's decentralized or code is law is not quite the answer. Beyond that, though, it shakes the confidence in the entire ecosystem. So we don't want to go around, building in a system where people are always judging us for having these exploits be commonplace. We want to do something about this. In short, I think they're not welcome, right? I think if you talk to most people in this room or at DEFCON or anywhere else, and you say, "Oh, the hack was so cool," that was great. No one's really going to agree with you except maybe 3 or 4 security researchers who just want to understand what happened and aren't really okay with the outcome, anyways. Um, and they actually still happen on rollups too, like on layer twos. It's not surprising, right? We've spent all this time and sort of research working towards EVM compatible rollups. And so smart contract exploits that have been well understood found their way onto rollups. And rollups have had various reactions to this problem. So these are real tweets. There are hacks happening on Linea, on Scroll, on Blast. And in a couple of the bigger cases, namely these ones, there were calls from the community to do something about it, right? That's also true on Ethereum, but on Ethereum, it's sort of a different set of rules, which I'll talk about, where maybe you can't do as much because unless you control most of Ethereum or the staking validator set or whatever, you can't do much. On the rollups, often with a centralized sequencer, it's a little bit easier to try to use some social consensus or pressure to get them to act and say, well, maybe we shouldn't allow this thing. And that may or may not be a good thing, depends who you ask. Certainly, if you lost the funds, you're going to try to put the pressure on those rollups to say, protect my money, give me my money back, do something. If you're more an ideological person and you just want something to be fully open or code is law, maybe you won't care as much. But at the end of the day, most people, don't like it. And in these situations, there was community pressure. So there was pressure to either halt withdrawals from these networks or to roll back the chain so that that thing never happened, or take other approaches to somehow recover the funds of the users that were exploited in these situations. So that's bad. What can we do about it, right? So this is the problem. What can we do about it? Well, first thing we can realize is that often we can look at these transactions and we can actually identify them, right? So if you look at a transaction going onto any network, including a layer two, you can often figure out if they're malicious or not malicious. Maybe not you with your naked eye, not can't just look at a hash and say, oh, that's bad. And maybe you also don't know exactly what it means to be bad, right? I have a definition of what a good transaction is. Yours is probably different. That's okay. But we generally know that the ones that make it to, Cointelegraph or Crypto Twitter, those are the really bad ones. Those are the ones that most of us agree are really, really bad. Even if you don't know how they operated or what they did, if there's a transaction that resulted in a, liquidity pool somewhere going to zero, that's bad, right? And so we don't actually need that much of a precise definition, although it is helpful, because we can start to look at those, or at least the ones that happened, and we can start to see the common trends and the patterns with them, right? And you can do this on Ethereum. There's actually protocols and companies out there doing this. They can see malicious transactions before they're executed on the network and say, oh my God, someone's going to lose a bunch of money. But that doesn't necessarily mean they can do anything about it because Ethereum is so decentralized. Just because you detect a transaction coming doesn't mean you have the power to stop it, because you can't just halt the network. You can't just say, please pause. You can try to reach out to those teams. Maybe they're asleep, or maybe you have some tight integration and you could do something about it, or maybe there's other solutions. But generally speaking, just the knowledge that a transaction is going to be problematic is not enough to do something about it. So you're kind of hoping for retroactive activities to mitigate the damage, reduce the contagion, that type of thing. And that's better than nothing, but this is useful. We can use it in other ways. But all of this research sort of comes down to just trying to figure out what a bad transaction is and to secure the ecosystem with the main idea that if we can prevent something from going bad in the first place, that's way, way easier than trying to recover the funds or resolve the issue after this transaction has happened. So the goal is really to focus on prevention entirely. Like, let's not have any more smart contract hacks. It sounds really easy, sounds really nice, because it's so hard to fix them afterwards. And it turns out there's a good tool out there for matching patterns. It's really crazy. This thing called AI that's been around for now at least a couple of years as well, turns out to be very, very strong at finding patterns that we can't see with our naked eye, patterns that are very complex, very intricate, and not necessarily easy to reason about in other settings. And so you can use this tool, this AI, and you can use it to detect transactions. That's really cool. That are malicious, and it can have really, really good results. So in this case, we have a model where false positives is less than 0.01%. So that's something like almost always, if it says it's a hack, it's going to be a hack, and almost always it will catch something. So if it misses something, this is a fine transaction, it's going to also probably be a fine transaction. Which means if you apply this in the right setting, you can actually increase the security of the ecosystem for just about everyone. And that's exactly what we want to do at Zircuit. So at Zircuit, we acknowledge that the rules of rollups are a little bit different than Ethereum, right? We love Ethereum, we're building on Ethereum, but rollups should be, I think, different. I think the idea of 50, EVM compatible rollups that do exactly the same thing as Ethereum is boring and probably useful, but not as useful as if they did different things and catered to different people. So Ethereum is building towards this rollup centric roadmap, even with Justin Drake's announcement yesterday. I think that's still the case. And we're going to have a bunch of different chains doing different things, right? So I think it's totally acceptable that we have some that are really, really good at just mimicking Ethereum, but being faster, or different, VMs or different languages, or parallelized execution, or zero knowledge proofs versus fraud proofs, or something like this. But they can do different things. And one of the things that we're doing at Zircuit is they're going to do the exact thing that we talked about in the solution, which is take that AI, plug it into one of these chains, and provide a place where if you want to come on chain, you get an extra level of security. Because these rollups are allowed to have different rules, the rules we're going to have is we're going to filter out bad transactions. If we see a transaction coming onto our network that our AI says this is problematic, this is going to cause some people to lose a lot of money, and it wasn't expected, we're not going to put that on chain right away. And I think that's really, really great. And how we do that is very simple. We put the AI into our sequencer. So we have a centralized sequencer right now. We have an AI in there, and it's going to look at the transactions as they come into the mempool. And before a transaction is promoted to inclusion in a block, we're going to take a look at, is this something that we want on our chain? Is it going to be something that's going to do more bad than good? If the answer is yes, get out of here. We don't want that. And what this means is you get protections for users and dApps at the same time for free. Right? We're not charging for this. Just the gas fees are sort of the standard gas fees. There's no additional overhead for this. And all these users and dApps get this for free, regardless of whether or not the dApps did their jobs of getting a security audit. You still definitely should. Please do not, try to skip that step. It's very important. You take your own security into your own hands. But in the event that, the auditors miss something, or there's a new class of hacks, or something else, we can still have protection for both the users of that dApp and the dApp itself, which I think is really good. And because we can do this in such a nice performant way, it also doesn't really affect like the system, right? So AI is really efficient in this case, and we get to actually sort of get everything we want out of this for free, as long as you're willing to say, okay, we're going to take out some transactions from this chain. And so we've turned this feature or functionality, our sort of most unique thing, sequencer level security. And what we're doing is basically what I just said. As we look at transactions, we do the standard checks. Are they valid? Are they signed? Is someone paying for it? All of that's very important. We don't want people, breaking those types of protocol rules. We're also doing sort of a semantic or a reasoning check where we say, not only is it a valid transaction from sort of the protocol level, but is it a valid one from sort of the social-ish part, right? Which is, would an AI or would people complain if this transaction hit the network? Would it be a hack? That's what we're looking for. Now, it's important to know we're not really looking at MEV or things like this. Those types of things are not something we're super concerned about. What we want to do is prevent major losses on our ecosystem, right? Which means if you come on the chain, you have this extra layer of security, which I think is very, very nice. And so this is sort of the high level architecture of what it is. Basically, we still have the standard mempool, but as we're going through choosing transactions, we do a little bit more scrutiny on it. We try to figure out, is a transaction going to be good? If it's good, welcome aboard. It's not good, try a different blockchain. I hope that's actually not the case. I hope no one actually, puts a hack on any other blockchain. But the point is, we're going to try our best to make sure that this AI is going to catch everything that we can to make sure that users on our system are secure. And that's it. So I think that's on time. If you have any questions, I'm around. We got a booth over at the other room. We got some plushies. Please come talk to me. Thank you.